Well, we can speak now to former General Delegate of the Palestinian Authority in France, Hind Khoury. Thanks so much for joining us. Firstly, can I ask, simply by asking you for your reaction to this alarming statement from Donald Trump?
Well, we are certainly living a very dramatic moment, not only for the Palestinians, I think, but for the whole Middle East. And it probably is similar to the 1948 period, because it seems the main question here concerning how to achieve peace for the region is the expulsion of Palestinians and the liquidation of the Palestinian cause. But we are a bit hopeful, I would have to say, in spite of all the disasters, the catastrophe that we lived through for the Palestinian people in Gaza, but even now starting in the West Bank. Our hope is that somehow international diplomacy these days is more aware of the costs to the stability of the region if the Palestinian cause is liquidated and Palestinians don't get their rights. I think Arab and Muslim diplomacy is much more aware of the dangers these days. I'm myself and many other, I'm sure, Palestinians and Arabs and people who want to see real peace in the region are gratified by the position of Saudi Arabia. Would be supported by the Arab and the Muslim countries to stand very firm on the fact that any future for the region should include the right of the Palestinians to have their own state according to international law. I think what Trump did in his declaration and meeting with Netanyahu is basically putting up his highest bid. He's a deal maker. That's the highest bid, and there will be now negotiations to try to reach a final solution for this situation in the region. Hopefully, the Arab and Saudis will weigh in to create a more, not only peaceful region, but provide some rights for the Palestinians, or the rights for the Palestinians.
Indeed, Saudi Arabia even taking time out. It was 4 a.m. local time when they stepped in to give their reaction. But can you envisage Palestinian people in Gaza being forced to leave?
I think some of the expulsion is already happening because there will be like 100,000 people who are injured who will be cleared away from Gaza for treatment. With every one of these three people can accompany them. That's about 500,000 people already. But I don't think that fully the plan will be achieved. The Palestinians have paid a very, very high price to stay on their land throughout their history, the recent history of the last 50 or even 70 years. And now many, many of them will stay. The price was much, much too high. And there has to be an understanding after so much pain and suffering, the Palestinians will not be ready to give up. I think that should be for sure. That's how people who suffer react. They will hold on to the right because they have nothing to lose.
And when we were speaking there about Saudi Arabia's support in the Middle East, you know, who do you think, and even beyond actually the Middle East, who do you think is stepping up to support the Palestinians? Or do you think there's a lot of countries that focus more on cozying up, if you like, to the United States?
There will be a lot of cozying up to the United States. I think the strong man here is President Trump. He has a very, very strong position to play a very important role. He's interested in real peace and stability in the region. The U.S. needs to look elsewhere and to solve the many problems, as you see that Trump has already opened many, many fronts at the international level. So he needs to get this done and done well. It will be a period of bargaining, of trying to wheel and deal to reach a solution. And I think President Trump would have to accommodate the views and the needs actually of Saudis and the Gulf countries and the Arab countries and the Muslim world to provide a peace that will be lasting. So, well, this is my 2 cents. Maybe I'm a bit too optimistic because if the Palestinian cause is completely liquidated, it will only be instability in the region. Israel does not totally is in line with the U.S. policy because Israel wants to have war to reach stability, certainly war with Iran and more wars, let me say. I think the U.S. cannot afford more wars, and they have a different approach. So that's where hopefully some kind of agreement will be reached. But in my view, the region, the future would be more about the regional stability, the regional solution, and how Israel and the Palestinians can be integrated this future that is more promising and more stable for all the peoples of the region.
And in the more short term, Ms. Khoury, how do you feel about this second phase of the ceasefire in Gaza? Do you also feel hopeful that a deal will be reached and that ceasefire continue?
Yeah, my feeling that Mr. Trump, President Trump, is keen to have the ceasefire agreement hold. So it will hold. I think it will hold. Israel will do its best to disrupt. It's a question of, again, balance of power. Netanyahu did manage against many, many odds to hold on to power and manage Israel's foreign policy, which is a warmongering policy since the 7th of October. He may succeed again. He may succeed to trap again President Trump as he's trapped President Biden in not trying to present a post-ceasefire view, the day after view for Gaza and how it's going to be governed, how it's going to be reconstructed. He could get everybody stuck in that catch-22, unfortunately. Let's hope the world this time will be more aware, and hopefully President Trump will handle it that way.
Well, indeed, the world definitely cannot say they're not aware of the situation in Gaza, with 47,000 people killed in that war.
Who cares? But who cares? Who cares about the people killed? Who cares about people suffering? I'm sorry, we are in power politics for too long where nothing human matters. That's what Palestinians have learned.
Indeed, very little reaction coming during that war in Gaza. As the ceasefire holds there, before we leave you, Ms. Khoury, can you give us an idea of the latest on the situation in the West Bank? Because we understand that while the ceasefire has been holding in Gaza, there's been rising violence and tension and bombings in the West Bank.
Yes, Israel has turned from Gaza to the West Bank to continue with the same plan, maybe slightly at a slower pace, but the same ethnic cleansing process is in play, and to starting with the war on many of the camps in Jenin, in Qusayr and elsewhere, mainly to liquidate the issue of to discuss the refugees at all in any kind of negotiation. So they will trying to strengthen their Israel in general is trying to strengthen its negotiating position, and did so brilliantly so far. Ethnic cleansing in the West Bank, then we have to discuss that, and it becomes a price to be paid that we accept seizing this ethnic cleansing as a price maybe for normalization. You know, it's also possible. So let's hope that the world will be much more awakened to these dangers, because other than real peace, it's basically chaos for the whole region. I think Israel's plan, Netanyahu's plan, is for more internal fighting, not only among Palestinians, but in Syria, Lebanon, and probably elsewhere. And that's not a very promising future for anybody. A region that is inflamed for much, much longer is a danger to the world economy, is a danger to world stability, and increasing conflicts and destruction of world economy, of all economies in the world.
Indeed, and money does speak when other things might not, as we well know, unfortunately. Former General Delegate of the Palestinian Authority here in France, Hind Khoury. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us here on France 24.